everybody. Welcome in. Happy Monday to the Concrete Jungle and New York Baseball Podcast here on fairlex1.com. Coming to you guys live from the North Park Building, Central Falls, New York, in the new FL1 studios. I'm Paul Russo. To my right, Kyle Evans. Behind the keyboard, working the computers and such, producer Nate Sharman. Boys, happy to have you as always along in here. Hopefully it was a good weekend for you guys, and I know it was a pretty good one for the Yankees and the Mets, as well as our farm teams in Rochester and Syracuse.
Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend for sure. Final week coming up here. It's going to be interesting around the league to watch some of the pennant races going on. But yeah, overall it was good. How was your weekend?
Can't complain. Not too bad. My beloved Syracuse Orange, 25th in the coaches poll now for football, so we're doing pretty good over there. Do want to apologize to Nate. I misspoke. He didn't officially WD. Did participate, though, in the club championship over the weekend. Fighting through the adverse weather, I'd say a little bit, right, Nate?
Yeah, it was looking like the weather was going to be a little sketchy on Sunday. Ended up being fairly decent. I did improve my score from Saturday to Sunday, so that was good. But shout out to Tab Carmen posting a final around 66 yesterday to take the club championship. Fought off some good play from L.J. Sablowski, Josh Durso, George Manor, just to name a few. So credit to Tab, his first career title at Silver Creek Golf Club.
Awesome to hear. Congrats all around. So a lot to get to and not get to, I suppose, in a way. We'll start with the Yankees, though. 4-game sweep. The mop, as we're going to call it, taking care of the Boston Red Sox over the weekend. Thursday, first game in the series, final after 10 innings, Yankees 5, Red Sox 4. Clay Holmes picked up the win, moves to 7-4, 2.59 ERA for him. Caleb Ort took the loss, 1-2, a 5.79 ERA. Jimson Tyone got the start that day. No decision, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 8 strikeouts for him. Carlos Stanton, again, working himself out of the funk, had a pretty good day on Thursday. 3 for 4 home run, 2 RBIs, a run scored, hit what ended up being a very pivotal 2-run home run before the Red Sox kind of rallied back a little bit. But Josh Donaldson took the headlines early Thursday, 3 for 5, an RBI and a run scored, obviously walk-off single in the 10th inning. But collectively, it might have been one of Donaldson's brighter performances in the pinstripes so far.
Yeah, he has had some better games in the second half of the year. Obviously, he's one of the guys that we kind of look at and look at his season and say, yeah, he hasn't had his best year, but he's starting to come together at the right time, like, as we're going to probably mention, Gleyber Torres. There's just guys that are starting to hit and play a little better, and that'll be huge in the postseason.
Yeah, for sure. Friday, you mentioned Gleyber. He'll be mentioned here in just a minute. A 5-4 victory this time, not in extras. Didn't have to worry about that. Jonathan Lasagi. Been a while since having to say giant lasagna name.
We can just say Jonathan Lasagna or something.
Yeah, but Jonathan Lasagi picked up the win, moves to 2-3, a 4.43 ERA for Matt Strom. Took the loss for Boston, moves to 3-4, 3.5 ERA for him. Aaron Hicks, 2 for 3, a home run, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. It was his 100th career home run that he hit Friday night. Garrett Cole got the start, no decision, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 earned, 2 walks, 8 Ks. And Gleyber Torres, as you mentioned, Kyle, 1 for 3, a double, walk, and 2 RBIs. So good to see once again Gleyber kind of continuing the hot streak that he's been on. Hicksy, good to see. Obviously in a spot start now at this point, kind of took it in stride and obviously capitalized on the opportunity. Garrett Cole, not the best performance, kind of what we've been expecting of him, but he more or less was able to keep the bleeding to a minimum. Also went 6 innings, where a spot where a lot of guys now only go 5 innings.
Yeah, I think Aaron Hicks is finally out of the doghouse, I would say, because he really wasn't playing for a good week or so. But yeah, it's good to see that when he is playing, he's finally contributing. I mean, he did bring in 2 of the runs the other night, so if it wasn't for him, they probably would have lost. But yeah, Garrett Cole struggled a little bit. It seems like with Boston, he just has his struggles. It's kind of weird. I thought it was more of like a Fenway Park thing, but I guess it's Yankee Stadium too, a little bit. But I think it's a good thing that the Yankees don't have to go to Fenway this October.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Boston officially eliminated now, courtesy of the Yankees. Saturday, 7-5 Yankee victory. Lucas Luetge picked up the win out of the bullpen, 4-4, 2.78 ERA for him. John Schreiber took the loss for Boston, 3-4, 2.18 ERA. Scott Efros picked up the save, third on the year. Your top performers, Domingo Germán, no decision, 5 innings pitched, 3 earned, 3 hits, a walk, and 5 Ks. Oswaldo Cabrera, 1 for 3 with a home run, a walk, 2 RBIs, 2 unscored. And then Gleyber Torres, once again, 2 for 4, a solo shot for him along the way as well. Obviously, this ended up being the last full game, obviously, within the series. But I do want to make note, obviously, for there's 3 games of the series, no decision across any of the starters for Yankees or the Red Sox. Could be a slightly worrisome situation, I feel like, but the Yankees didn't really burn out their bullpen too much. All things considered, especially the way, if you want to go back to Thursday a little bit, especially the way it could have gone with Schmidt obviously coming in and, he gets credit technically with a blown save in the Thursday spot. But, the Yankees really did a great job probably keeping the bleeding to a minimum with the bullpen.
Yeah, the Red Sox, I thought, played better than, what the record shows. I mean, they're not a playoff team. But the Red Sox seem to be in every game. They seem like they're still fighting. But the Yankees found a way, and that's what during August they couldn't do. They couldn't find a way to win those tight games. And now they're finally winning those tight games. So it seems like things have kind of changed with this team. I think more confidence, more energy. And, I mean, they've won 11 of 13, so I think they're rolling at the right time.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of rolling at the right time, a bit of an interesting situation last night. Game getting called after 6 innings due to inclement weather. Yankees 2, Boston nothing. Nestor Cortez picks up the win, 11th on the year, 11-4, 2.56 ERA. Who would have thought that we'd be talking about Nestor Cortez in such a way? And Brian Bayo took the loss for Boston, 2-7, 4.39 ERA. Nestor went all 6 innings, technically a complete game, I guess, in the weird sense of the term. Complete game shutout. Only allowed 1 hit in 5 Ks. Oswald Peraza went 2 for 3 with a double, and the lone RBI technically on the night came from Jose Trevino, who had an RBI single going 1 for 3. So, obviously you take them where you get them. I know it wasn't as much controversy as a lot of people probably thought there would be. Obviously, the Yankees got their at-bat in the 6th inning, which kind of opens up a little bit of possibility for Boston maybe wanting to get their at-bat in the 7th. But seems though everything kind of came to a pretty quick conclusion. And, one of the last plays before the rain delay kind of comes out, former Yankee Rob Refsnyder has a bit of a moment, to say the least, out in right field.
Yeah, shout out to Rob for helping, give an extra run there. I mean, it was pouring, but still, a major league player, you got to find a way to catch that ball. But yeah, I was actually excited to see Peraza in the lineup. I think it's been like over a week now, and he immediately comes in and makes an impact, 2 hits. So that was good to see. I think he deserves to play a little more. I mean, when he has played, he's hitting. So why not? And he's young.
Yeah, I mean, and he'll be one of the guys moving forward, obviously. Not necessarily this season, especially in this playoff push. But to me, really starting next year with 2023, that I would expect to probably see in that lineup every day.
Yeah, and I feel like we may see him even more over these last few games because if the Yankees clinch in the next few nights, maybe they'll give guys a couple of days off here and there, and that's when he'll mix in, at third or short or whatever, second. So yeah, I think we'll see him a little bit more.
Yeah, obviously, this would be a spot where I would touch on that, but given who the Yankees play here to get this week going, we're going to table that clinching scenario stuff for the time being. Aaron Judge, 2 for 11 this series against Boston. I know off air Thursday I did kind of predict that he wouldn't get a home run against Boston. I don't know if I necessarily expected him to go 2 for 11 in the series, only 2 hits, a single and a double. That being said, he really did have a lot of good at-bats. Just as an example, he walked 5 different times throughout the series. He doesn't strike me as a guy who really cracks under pressure either. I do think the weight of the situation is on his mind, though. I think it's hard not to be in that situation, no matter who you are. So, like I said, I don't know if that necessarily weighted the situation, but to give kudos to Alex Cora, which I never thought I would audibly say out loud in my life, he did make a good point Thursday night, post-game, about how even if he doesn't theoretically get a home run within the next week, which seems absurd anyway. The MVP of the AL still is Aaron Judge. I mean, he was the example, obviously, of his own guy, Tommy Pham, getting gunned down by Aaron Judge in the 10th or in the 9th inning, rather, to keep the Yankees, in it at that point. Obviously, it opens up a whole different can of worms if Pham does get to second with really potentially anybody other than Aaron Judge is in right field.
Yeah, I'm not concerned with it. I honestly think he gets it done on the road in the next few nights. I just think the Yankee Stadium crowd, as much as players love playing in front of it. I mean, like I was mentioning before we got on the air, that like everyone stood up, like all the attention, like he knew, like it was just a different like environment, like different atmosphere. And I don't know. I don't think he was. I don't think he was trying too hard. I don't think he was pressing. I just don't think he was getting the right pitches. I know they were throwing him strikes, which I was actually surprised to see. I think the pitches he did get to hit, he missed, and that happens. The best hitters do that.
Right.
So I think he'll get one maybe in Toronto at least, and maybe hit the, what am I trying to say here? Hit the history 62 at home on Friday or Saturday when they go back home.
Right. I think. You bring up a good point there about the atmosphere, right? And I'll use this as an example where, I mean, for those who listen who possibly were at the Syracuse football game Friday night, I mean, that was the loudest I think I've ever heard the Dome for a football game in quite some time, probably in all honesty since the Clemson game in 2019.
Would you say there was more people though?
Well, no, but that's what I'm getting at though, is like the atmosphere Friday night was something I had never seen for Syracuse football before, and you could kind of tell that there were a couple players on Syracuse, and it's a little bit different because they're amateurs and they're kids still, but you could definitely tell. I mean, it's a different atmosphere sometimes when you talk about people on their feet and being louder than normal. I think it does affect people psychologically speaking, for obviously the mental side of it, and like you said, I mean, it's not like he didn't see pitches. In fact, he hit a lot of balls very hard. I know, I think this might be the perfect time to bring this up. I think collectively as a baseball community, we want to fight that Fox cameraman Thursday night for what happened. Especially afterwards, seeing Aaron Judge react, knowing that he did not hit it out at all.
I think he should be in prison, that guy. I thought he hit it into Monument Park.
That's a bit extreme. I
know, I'm just having fun.
Admittedly.
I thought he hit that out of the stadium when he hit it.
Right. I mean, but you bring up, but that's a good point, right? I mean, you thought, much like a lot of other people, the way the camera was, that you say Monument Park. I thought initially he blasted that thing 550 feet.
In the Long Island, yeah, right.
Over, onto the Long Island Expressway, having to change directions and head southbound as opposed to northbound. But I mean. Toronto, the Rogers Center has turned into a sneaky, good, hitter-friendly ballpark in the past few years. I think a lot of it has to do with them pretty much having the dome closed full-time-ish now. I would expect the roof and dome to be closed over the course of the next 3 games.
And I think the weather had some impact on it too. I mean, there were colder nights. The ball's not really flying as well. Even not just with him. A lot of hitters. Like last night, Bogarts squared one up. I thought for sure he took Cortez deep, and it was just a fly out to left field. It's just the way the bat is, like the way it sounds off the bat, it seems like a lot of balls are out. Yeah. But with the colder weather, they kind of just die at the warning track.
Right.
So I think the weather is a little.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, this time of year you tend to see, I wouldn't say true small ball come back, but you certainly see the more traditional baseball that we see now with the long ball and stuff like that being play. That's certainly, I think that's a fair point to bring up.
Love seeing Judge's plate discipline, though, still. That's how you know he's not trying too hard, because he wouldn't take those walks. He'd swing at pitches that are balls. And, I mean, he probably has done that a couple times during that series, but not much.
Yeah, beyond good hitter. Let's move on. I know we mentioned last Thursday about the Mets minor league A squad in St. Lucie winning the Florida State Championship. The Yankees, their Double-A teams, the Somerset Patriots, are currently in the Eastern League Championship. Kudos to them. They've had a lot of roster movement throughout the year, obviously. They're currently taking on, and this one hurts me. I don't think people fully know, actually, how much of this matchup kind of hurts me in a way. I'll give a little bit of a background as to what I mean by that. I went to college at Gannon University, in downtown Erie, Pennsylvania. They are currently taking on the Erie Seawolves, the Double-A affiliate of the Detroit Tigers. But a lot of good memories spent at what is now UMPC Ballpark in Erie. So this one does hurt me a little bit, right? It hurts the ego a little bit for me here, having the Yankees Double-A team take on a team that I do have a lot of love for and respect for. Somerset currently down 0-1 in the series. They've been off the past 2 days. Game 2 is tomorrow in Somerset, and then Game 3, if necessary, Wednesday is in Somerset as well. But look, I mean, like I said, this has been a roster for Somerset that's been a lot of flux this year for different reasons. They've certainly the past month or so settled in with guys like Trey Sweeney, Jason Dominguez being there. I forget the name escapes me right now. The pitcher they got in the Gallo deal from the Dodgers has made a big impact pitching there.
Oh, Clayton Beer, is it?
So it's awesome to see. I know Scranton's still in the hunt for AAA as well, but currently it's fun seeing the baby. It's they were called for a number of years, right? The Baby Bombers certainly making at least the championship impact early on in their careers.
Yeah, I think it's always fun to see like the minor league teams, make a run at championships. Young guys just getting experience in bigger games, will help them for when they do get to the big leagues. I don't know if Scranton's going to make it. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, they're right on the quote unquote outside looking in at this point.
Even if they don't, we remember how bad they started and how they just went on a run and kind of got back into it. So if they do fall short, at least the effort was there. There is moving parts with them too, obviously, all the time, with call-ups, pitchers especially. That's the thing, their pitching is an issue. I mean, they had to sign guys like, Chichi Gonzalez and all different guys
Danny
like
Salazar.
that. Yeah, veteran players, just because they needed some people to throw innings. But yeah, good run by them if they don't make it. It's a good way to end the year, fighting, and hopefully next year would be better for them.
Yeah, Scranton currently in second place in the IL East, 81-65, a game and a half out, and I know.
And there's 3 games left for.
Right, and it's tough because I know they were one of the teams that got rained out yesterday, and the game obviously won't be able to be made up. So it's going to be a tough deal. I know Scranton. They currently are hosting Buffalo for their final 3 games today through Wednesday, and the team that they're chasing, Durham, they're on the road, albeit right across Interstate 85 in Charlotte, and Charlotte is the basement team in the IL East by a pretty good margin.
Ooh,
so
gonna need a sweep, but I don't think that's happening.
Baseball works in mysterious ways, folks, as you all know. So hopefully something will change there. All right, let's transition over to what's ahead for the Yankees. We mentioned already 3 games in Toronto starting tonight through Wednesday, all 7:07 first pitches, all on yes. Expected to be Severino, Tyone, and Cole. I mean, outside of maybe having Nestor in there, and obviously it's tough because he obviously pitched last night. Don't know if you can have a better 3 going for you on a spot where you can technically eliminate the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays sitting 8.5 back. Still technically alive somehow in the AL East. I don't know how, given the fact that there's only a few games left, all things considered. But certainly a interesting spot. I know Tampa Bay was officially eliminated from at least divisional contention over the weekend. And the Yankees could, as long as they take 2 of 3 against Toronto, do the same to the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I think it's crazy to see that they're 8.5 up now. You said, and what was it, like 3 weeks ago? It got down to 3.5, I think. And now at the end of the year, I think it's going to look like the AL East was never in jeopardy. The way, I think the season's going to finish. I mean, I know they did lead 15.5, but I think by the end of the year it might be like at 10 or something again. So, yeah, I think they're going to take care of the Blue Jays in this series.
Yeah, Yankees riding a 7-game winning streak now. Which is really interesting to say, given what we were talking about even, 3 podcasts ago. I still worry personally. I think no matter what, those demons always lurk in the background. So it'll be interesting. Toronto plays tough. I mean, this is a lineup that, all things considered, I know, I think collectively we all thought Toronto was going to be leaps better than they even are. than they are. But I think it'll be tough to get a sweep, in all honesty, coming off of the high that the Yankees have been on here the past week. I don't think there will be an exact hangover per se. But I do think they eliminate the Blue Jays from contention. I think they get 2 of 3.
Yeah, I agree. 2 of 3.
All right, let's move on to the Mets. A couple different points to really get to here. Obviously, throughout the series against Oakland, they took 2 of 3, did what they had to do. I think we're all kind of hoping for a sweep for them. Couldn't quite get there, but all things considered, I'm guessing they'll gladly take 2 of 3. Friday was a 9-2 victory. Chris Bassick picked up the win, 15th on the year, moves to 15-8, a 3.27 ERA. Cole Irvin, the loss for Oakland, 9-12, a 4.11 ERA. Bassick went 8 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned, 2 Ks. Jeff McNeil, 3 for 5, a double, an RBI, and 2 runs scored. And a name you'll hear a couple different more times here, Mark Vientos, 2 for 3, a double, a walk, and 2 RBIs. So excellent job there by the young Vientos there for really coming up big, collected his first 2 MLB RBIs Friday night. But collectively, just a really great win. Chris Bassitt rebounding nicely here after a couple of rough starts. And obviously, going 8 innings, right on the precipice of potentially going complete game. I know pitch count got in the way a little bit of that for him. And Jeff McNeil, again, another guy who we've talked about all year, really making an impact that we don't maybe necessarily talk about too much, but probably really should more often.
Yeah, I thought this was the perfect series for that offense to kind of get back on track, kind of get Vientos, in the mix. Obviously, the A's pitching's not very good, so we kind of knew this was going to happen, but Saturday surprised me, that's for sure.
Yeah, Saturday was a 10-4 victory over the Mets. Former Yankee prospect Ken Waldichuk picked up the win, 1-2, a 7.15 ERA. Jacob deGrom, the loss, 5-3, a 2.93 ERA. We'll discuss more on that portion of it here in a couple minutes. Pete Alonso, 1 for 4, a home run, 2-run home run rather. We'll also touch on that actually in a couple minutes as well. Mark Vientos went 1 for 3, a solo shot and a walk, and then Francisco Lindor 2 for 3 with an RBI. That RBI on Saturday, his 100th on the season. So not bad for a guy that I know at the beginning of the season a lot of Met fans were not keen on anymore, to say the least.
And I think the biggest thing with him is he's been in the lineup almost every single day. He hasn't, if I remember right, he hasn't been on the injured list.
No, he's pretty much him and McNeil are the 2 main ones who haven't.
Yeah, he's been so reliable this year, and I think he's a big reason why they're still holding on in first place. Obviously, we don't know if they're going to hold it the rest of the year, but right now, he's a big reason, like you said, with McNeil too. So Mets fans should be super excited to have him on their team.
Yeah, we'll touch more on the Pete Alonso front too here in just a second after we get through Sunday, which was an 11-4 victory. Obviously, the offense really came back alive in a big way there. Next, Scherzer, 6 innings, got the win rather, 11-4, 2.13 ERA for him. J.P. Sears took the loss, 6-3, a 4.22 ERA. Scherzer, 6 innings, 4 hits, an earned run, and 7 Ks. Mentioned Lindor, 3 for 5, a double, 3 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. Pete Alonso, 4 for 5, a home run, 2 doubles, 5 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. Allows us to once again perfectly transition to this. Pete Alonso with the 5 RBIs yesterday became the Mets single-season RBI king, breaking what has been a tie at 124 between Mike Piazza and David Wright at 124. Pete Alonso, again, I think it's weird. I think if we weren't necessarily really talking about Aaron Judge as much as we are, at least on the offensive side of things, Pete Alonso would be having a big discussion, and it's unfortunate because I think he's getting overlooked in the NL MVP race at this point. Now, that being said, I do think it probably should go to, say, like Paul Goldschmidt. But, I mean, Pete Alonso, again, he has missed a little bit of time and never got put on the IL all year. Another guy who has been pretty much in that lineup consistently and above anything else has really become, at least on the offensive side of things, a de facto leader in that clubhouse.
Yeah, Judge, I mean, really is kind of grabbing the headlines in New York, obviously, a historical year. But Alonso is having a great year, and I don't think a lot of people are really understanding, like, that's a great offensive year. But what Judge is doing is just insane. It probably won't happen again.
Right.
So, yeah, Alonso, having him on the team, he's another big reason why they're in first place. Like you said, he's always in the lineup, always contributing. It's a good player to have for sure.
Yeah. And, he's having, not to downplay, right, but Alonso is having at least a single team historic year, right? I mean, this is a Mets team that, an organization that clearly, where I could mention Piazza, mention Wright, but they've had other really great guys along the way. Gary Carter. I'll go ahead and say Keith Hernandez, even though I'm not all that big of a Keith guy playing wise. But look, they've also had guys come in for short stints. Guys like Carlos Delgado, who for pretty much his whole career, Hall of Very Good type stuff. It says a lot that it took maybe this long time to kind of break. I mean, David Wright got to 124. I think it was in 2014 or 15. I think it was, and obviously tied it. But if the Captain America, Mr. Met himself couldn't do it, then Pete Alonso, I think's pretty much taken that throne, all things considered.
Yeah,
at this point.
And he has, what is that, I don't know the exact number, 25, 30 less homers than Judge,
Yeah.
and they almost have the same amount of RBIs. So what that means is Alonso's not just hitting homers, he's
Well,
also,
I don't know the exact number, but he has a ton of doubles. I mean, look at yesterday. He had 2 doubles with that home run.
That's what I mean. He's also, just getting, base hits.
Yeah.
I know Judge does too. I'm just saying, it's, I don't think people should think that Alonso just hits homers. That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
He drives and runs
He does
other
a
ways.
very good job, especially this year. I've noticed he's turned himself into what Judge does, where it's a lot of times just kind of swinging for contact, and the ball does the rest.
Yep.
How many solo home runs does Aaron Judge have? Do you know that number?
No, but it seems like
It's in
quite
the
a bit.
30s, right?
Yeah, I mean it might be more than that, to be honest, especially with the move to lead off the past.
Yeah, I feel like the last
few
month
weeks.
there's been a lot of solo
Yeah.
home runs out of Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing per se.
Well, no, but I mean, you bring up a good point because he's at 60, right?
Right.
And RBI wise, he's at 131, I think it is, right?
yeah.
So, I mean, in and of itself, right? I mean, it's safe to say plus 50% have been solo shots.
Yeah, I know we're on the Mets, but did you see that Judge has 30 home runs on the road and 30 at home? It's a perfect split. I thought that was I didn't expect that.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly, that part's interesting. Let's go to another interesting point I want to talk about. It's not so much, I think, a very big news-worthy thing, but baseball fans, I think we all can agree, nobody likes Angel Hernandez. He was home plate umpire for deGrom's start on Saturday, and things kind of got off the rails once deGrom and Angel end up having a bit of a discussion, we'll call it. It's becoming, again, a bit of an issue with Angel, to me, anyway, and I'm interested to hear, actually, really both your guys' thoughts on this. Obviously, Angel been in the news all summer again with the lawsuit going on with the MLB, but certainly has been highlighted more and more and more about how poor of a job he really does umpiring. Saturday ended up being another pretty classic case of it. They obviously finally got highlighted with really one of the true aces in baseball, and deGrom kind of going at him a little bit. I know deGrom after the game apologized. I think a lot of that's just kind of saving face to save himself some issues with other umpires, along the way. But I don't take his apology at a ton of face value. I think a lot of his points, at least in the initial argument with Angel that got picked up on some hot mics, are valid. And again, I mean, obviously, right, we talk about Yankees and Mets on here, but I mean, the biggest one, I think, before even this one is, the Schwarber argument and ejection with Angel back in May, where Schwarber was literally not just arguing for him and his team, the Phillies, but also the team they were playing in, the Brewers. So I did find it interesting. I found it pretty interesting, and it's weird. I know he was fairly accurate, but you look at really his zone and where he missed them, and they were beyond rough, to say the least there.
Yeah, the biggest thing with him is, I mean, I always wonder, how does the guy still have a job? I mean, this is year after year. You can literally make, a YouTube video of all the missed calls that he's had. And it's not just behind the plate either. I know a lot of people think that. I mean, I think it was last year, if you remember, he called, there was a fly ball to center field, and he called the batter out, and it never went in the glove. It dropped for a hit. And it's like, dude, you're already halfway out in the field. What are you looking at?
Well, I mean, even then, the first true year of full instant replay. I mean, especially in the playoffs nonetheless. He has, what was it, 3-4 calls overturned within a 2-inning stretch?
And that's the point right there. Why is he in big games, too? I mean, he's that bad, and you choose him for a big game when there's so many umpires.
And I mean, look, there's a lot of bad ones who deserve to be highlighted. Here's looking at you, Ron Culpa. But Angel seems to be the one that always gets into these issues with players too that just get amplified more and more, it seems, especially, like I said, this past year it seems to have really picked up a notch. Nate, I know, appreciate you getting the scorecard up. I know you were on it there pretty good. I don't know if you've had any thoughts. I don't know if you've had any dealings with Angel in your time so far,
Yeah, for me, it's not more than anyone else, I would suppose. As a guy that's not watching a ton of games, not as much as you guys are watching, doesn't stick out to me. But I just know I see the videos, I see the umpire scorecard, and that kind of stuff too. So,
but you're probably the
tough
perfect
to watch.
Yeah, but you're probably a perfect example of right where you mentioned you don't watch as many games, but we talk about different umpires, right? And I want to mention a guy like John Tumpane, right? The reason why we know Tumpane's good is because one, we don't talk about him a ton in terms of in-game stuff, right? But obviously what happened in Pittsburgh and stuff like that. But guys like that we know are good because we don't have to talk about them, right? But the ones that do constantly get brought up again are the guys like Angel, and as soon as I mention Angel, you know what I'm probably talking about, which is never a good thing.
Yeah, when casual fans know names of umpires, you know, like, there's a reason for it, and I think everyone knows Angel Hernandez, even people that don't watch baseball daily. I mean, he's all over social media. He's that bad. Managers, I'm sure, hate him. A lot of them. I don't know anyone that would love having him behind the plate.
Right. No, I can't say that I would. I mean, he's pretty much gotten to the big leagues. It's been rough. I mean, go on YouTube, at everybody's own leisure, and just search Angel Hernandez Chicago Cubs. There was a time where it's Angel's, I believe, third year as a big league manager or umpire, and I can't remember who it was exactly that was doing the take me out to the ball game performance that night. Like, literally called him out right before, like, let's sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game and screw Angel Hernandez. Like, I mean, it's never a good thing when you're making your own headlines like that. It's just not.
With them being unionized, how difficult would it be to replace?
That's a good question. It's a fair question. The last major MLB umpire union issue came at the turn of the millennia. Around that time frame, at the time, and I don't know if you know this portion of it, Nate, but the AL and NL used to have their own sets of umpires. That's why you had guys like Joe West end up having to take a couple of years off because they wouldn't agree to do a full uniform one and meet the conditions of some of the stuff the AL wanted to do because Joe West was coming from the NL. There's a few umpires like that along the way. I mean, a lot of the old stalwarts like Vanover, people like that. That was the last major issue, and some umpires didn't come back from that. Some did come back and only had a few years, and then they've retired since, and so on and so forth. But the MLB umpire union is about as strong as you will see in sports. And it's tough to get these guys because, and look, I don't want to dive too into my own political beliefs or anything like that. I am pro-union. I don't want to make this sound like I'm anti-union. But in terms of really the MLB umpires, they need to figure out a better system of checks and balances with these guys. That being said, I know every other official union, especially at the pro level specifically, are in similar boats. But we aren't sitting here talking about, I'll use this one as an example because I love him. He's a great referee and official. You look at a guy like in the NHL, Wes McCauley.
I knew you were going that route.
Right, but he's good, but we know him for all the right reasons, right?
He's really fun to watch,
too. and he calls a good game. He allows the guys to do their own thing and within reason and stuff like that. So, there are guys, don't get me wrong, there are guys across the board, right? I mean, there's, I forget the guy's first name, but Boger for the NFL.
Jerome.
Yeah, Jerome. Very good, very good official, right? Nobody complains about him. Him and his crew keep a very tight game. There's a reason why they're doing the bigger games in the playoffs every year, it seems. and people like that. The NBA is a little bit hit and miss, I know that, but they tend to keep the younger officials coming in from the G League and giving them time pretty frequently now if there's ever a referee in question. So I don't know. I don't know what the next step is for the MLB in this. I'm not sure where their contract exactly is negotiation-wise at the moment. But it like I said, it's tough. I think the only way we can probably agree to is at the next bargaining agreement to figure out a way to get checks and balances in, or something better than what they already got. All right, let's take a look at bets ahead off today. They had an interesting 2-game set with the Marlins tomorrow and Wednesday, both games 7-10 on SNY. Pablo Lopez will go for the Marlins, 9-10, a 3.88 ERA against Carlos Carrasco, 15-6, a 3.79 ERA. Then on Wednesday, it's Jesus Luzardo for the Marlins, 3-7, a 3.5 ERA against Salmon Walker, 12-5, a 3.5 ERA as well. This is an interesting one because then they're off Thursday before facing off against Atlanta over the weekend.
Yeah, the NL East, I think it's decided this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Mets take both. I think they have to more or less in order to just keep the Braves at arm's length going into the weekend.
I say split.
All right. Yeah, I mean, this is a big couple days.
Because Luzardo, I think, just always pitches well against the Mets. I don't know. But, yeah, I think split. I'm not sure which game they'll lose.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Before we hop out here, our minor league brethren, Rochester and Syracuse, their season is almost up. They each have 3 games left this week, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Rochester at home against the Who Sox. And then Syracuse also home. They're going against Lehigh Valley. These are interesting series, right? We mentioned, right, Rochester and Syracuse both out. Outside looking in. Really, to be fair, both the Who Sox and the Iron Pigs are both out as well of playoff contention. This is interesting. The first time that they've really have done this. I'm not too sure what your expectations really are, Kyle. I'm expecting to see some hard play from both teams. I'm expecting to see probably some fun, though, as well. Maybe see some lineup, positions that we haven't fully seen all year. Try something a little bit new, and kind of get ready, keep that momentum up potentially for next year. I mean, both these teams have actually really played a very good September. They took collectively both series last week, Rochester against Buffalo and Syracuse against, oddly enough, the Who Sox. So I'm expecting at least see the momentum keep up for them against what is pretty good competition in the IL East.
Yeah, both teams are still competing. The Red Wings obviously are getting more results, more wins. But I think these final 3 games, I still think both teams are going to play hard and try to win the games. Obviously have fun. There's no playoffs on the line, so just go out there and have fun, play the game, and enjoy the last few days, because after this it's going to be the off season and you're going to be probably sitting on the couch.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's tough. I know we're kicking around the idea of maybe going up tomorrow. I think no matter what, I'm going to go up tomorrow, just get one more game in on the year with Rochester. I know weather could be a bit of a factor, but look, 3 games left. Both teams running different promotions throughout these 3 games. I definitely recommend if you want to battle the elements a little bit, get out one final time this summer. I guess really now officially the fall, but trust me, the off seasons could get long potentially, and I don't want to be that guy, but I certainly prefer a world where I'm able to go to baseball games as opposed to just having to watch highlights on YouTube in the middle of December.
Exactly.
So, all right, that wraps up Concrete Jungle for today. We'll be back obviously on Thursday. Any parting thoughts before we head out of here, guys?
No real parting thoughts for me.
Forgot to mention, by the way, Nate, don't mean to jump in before you, but I know you're thrilled with the Pirates acquisition over the weekend, claiming Miguel Andujar off waivers from the Yankees.
Yeah, I think we talked about it early in the season on this podcast that Miguel Andujar is kind of deserved to be an everyday starter.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see kind of how they experiment with him on the last few weeks of the season and see how they can build for next year.
You got a good one. Take care of him in Buckland. All right, Concrete Jungle and the New York Baseball Podcast. You can watch us live here on YouTube like you are potentially right now. If not, you're probably watching after the fact, and you can do that on YouTube as well, or on Anchor and Spotify, where you can also listen or watch, and other major podcasting platforms. We'll see everybody again Thursday here on Concrete Jungle. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll talk to you then.